back to another episode of Let's Talk Boxing. I'm Leti.
I'm LB.
And let's get into the legendary fight this weekend.
Yeah, that's one way to call it. Yeah, that's what we about to get some greatness.
Do we need to introduce it?
We gonna introduce it. Well, yeah, everybody know, but we gonna introduce it.
So we have ERROL Spence Jr. out of Dallas, Texas.
AKA The Truth, AKA The Big Fish, AKA Moby Dick, AKA The Grave Digger, and I'm sure we'll probably get some more nicknames before the fight even comes.
Right, hella nicknames for him versus Terence Crawford out of Omaha, Nebraska,
AKA Bud.
So down, pound for pound, top guys, overall in boxing. And it's about damn time this fight got made.
Yep, exactly. This is exactly like, Errol and them said. This is creme de la creme. That Hagler Hearns, Leonard Hearns. This is what this fight is.
Yeah.
It's one of those memorable fights, one that you're going to be replaying for years and years.
Yeah, and it was cool how Spence had talked about, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, the people to come in and watch our fights like we watch.
Exactly, that was
fights.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is for pound supremacy.
Yep.
You got them fighting for the number one spot in pound for pound, because both of these guys are at the top of everyone's pound for pound list.
Yeah, they're both champions in this division.
Ooh,
so this
man.
is definitely gonna be for the undisputed.
Once in a lifetime type fight.
Undisputed fight. But we just got done watching the press conference. They did multiple lead-up press conferences, like in New York and LA. And I gotta say, this is like, I don't know if I'm bugging, I'm tripping, you guys let me know, but this is the first time that I see Spence like really come at his opponent. Just because I feel like every time Crawford has something to say, Spence would jump in real quick, and he had like a punchline every time.
Yep. Like my favorite one was my favorite one was like, how you gonna catch Moby Dick with a fishing pole? That was hilarious.
He was serious too.
Yep. And then we got the crawfish boil or the fish fry. He talking about Terence Crawford talking about bringing him on the bank and filleting and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
But I mean, we just got watching this press conference before the fight, and it looked like they wasn't playing no game.
Yeah, Terence, and I'll say this, from that face off, Terence Crawford looked like he ready to fight. He was ready to fight today.
Yep, I said shit. Like you had said, like he looks really passionate. Both of the fighters, I'm like, I feel like he ready to fight the audience today because they was talking, and for one of the first times we see the fighters talking back to the people out in the stands.
And that just shows how big this fight is and how much passion this all the fans and just their family and friends have. Because this is a fight that's been brewing for a while, and a lot of people have been wanting to see this fight, and a lot of people probably got a lot riding on this fight. So I think that just kind of spilled over into the press conference. I mean, we see it all the time on social media, but that just shows how special this fight is. And,
right. Even the trainers, they got out and they were talking this shit.
Yep. Bomac was catching strays, and Derrick James was over there. It was cool to see his competitive side. Talking about Bomac, you got all that help over here, and Bomac coming back at him. And you can't run anymore, Derrick. And of course everyone always goes at Bomac's side. And they was talking about he ain't missed a meal and stuff like that. It was it was good. It was good going back and forth.
Yeah, but it seems like they just ready and just ready to go. But I gotta say, Crawford just kind of seemed irritated, annoyed at just other shit going on. Back and forth between their passionate sides crews. But the fight is here. Is this weekend. It's in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Tell us how we got here, though. How did we get to this fight that we've been trying to get to for a minute?
Man, it's damn near a miracle how we got to this fight. When you think about, I'll just start, from outside of the ring, the problems that I have outside of the ring. ERROL Spence, we all know that he was in a horrific car accident, getting tossed from his car and landing on cement. He's lucky to be alive after that. Then we saw, the torn retina that he had to go through. And then, when it comes to the outside of, for Terence Crawford, surviving being shot in the head early on in his career. So, that's why I say, it's damn near a miracle that we got this fight. Yeah. And then, they both had different, steps in their career. ERROL Spence, starting out as an Olympian, and then, signing with Al Heyman in the PBC right out. And then you got Terence Crawford on the other side, who had the falling out of Team USA. And later in his career, signing with Top Rank, he was fighting outside and things like that.
And that's why Crawford said he had to work for his.
Yeah. So they definitely different. They had different paths.
Yeah.
You got Terence Crawford starting at 135, becoming a champion. He's a 3-division champion, starting at 135, then becoming undisputed at 140, and then winning the WBO at 147. Then you got Errol on the other hand, who's been a true welterweight all his career, and becoming unified. Getting all 3 titles, and the only other belt is with Terence.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we got here. And if you and I'll also bring this up. I remember that video of Ellie servicing after a fight and them getting together, and that when the boxing fans saw them get together, I feel like we all knew that we were going to see something special just in the way that they interact with each other. They're just 2 alphas, 2 super confident fighters. But yeah, I've heard the basketball references thrown out there as Tim Duncan for ERROL Spence and Kevin Garnett for Terence Crawford. And I will say this, I didn't really like it just for the simple fact of, ERROL Spence is fundamental, but that man is exciting. And Tim Duncan was very exciting too. But honestly, if I make a basketball reference on, just purely on the mentality of these 2 fighters when it comes to being super competitive and super alpha dog like these dudes are, super competitive and just the pure belief in self, we might be looking at the mentality of Michael Jordan versus the mentality of Kobe Bryant. So this is just an exciting fight. And man, I feel just excited to be a boxing fan.
Yeah, and I could really say it's hard to even think that one of them is going to lose just because of the confidence in every interview that they're doing. Mm-hmm. Both of them, I feel like they're 200% going to win this fight. Mm-hmm. So they're really confident.
Yep, they've been and that's why in that Ellie video, we might not always agree with Ellie, but one thing he does give good footage, and you can just see in that video just how confident they are with one another. And exactly what they said was going to happen came to fruition. So hats off to them. Errol said, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to get all these belts, and then I'm going to come see you. I'm going to spin the block. Hey, and he's here. And we got the super fight, legendary fight.
I mean, like we said, they're both super confident, but give us a little detail between each fighter. Why are they so confident? What do they do so good to get them to be so confident? Okay, and
I think it's because, these guys, for one, these dudes is just both undefeated.
Well, give me Crawford. I want to hear Crawford because honestly, I feel like I opened the door to a different side of Crawford that I didn't know from like back in the day. So let me give for people that don't know for Crawford from back in the day, the way he used to fight. Give us a little breakdown of what Crawford does good.
So Crawford, Crawford does, like I said, these are probably the 2 most complete fighters that in the game today. Crawford, he's a boxer. He's a boxer puncher, and he can pretty much do any and everything in the ring. Not only can he do any and everything in the ring, but he's got power too to go along with it.
Oh yeah.
And that's what makes him special. And he also has the athleticism. The other thing about Terence Crawford, he is a switch hitter. He's got power in both hands. We've seen him get knockouts in the southpaw stance. We've seen him get knockouts in the orthodox stance. He's probably got the best check right hook in the game. I feel like he's a good he makes good adjustments in fights also. Yeah. And he's a good chess player, so I understand why he's able to do that too.
Yeah, as to talk about like you say, he does good adjustments. If you could do that, you have a great skill because like he said, one of his toughest fights was Gamboa. And he said the reason why he was so tough is he was just so tricky when it came to his movement. Yeah. And every time Crawford said he would do an adjustment, Gamboa would catch onto it and do an adjustment. And then Crawford would go back and do his adjustment. Yep. And at the end of the day, Crawford got the better of that fight. Yep. So he could adjust. Even though he got hurt, he stayed on that fight. He came back.
And that was undefeated. That was an undefeated Gamboa also. And we already know, the gold medalist that he was. So yeah, definitely I can see the adjustments and things like that. So that's kind of like what some of the things that Crawford does good. He's got a nice jab, and he's slick. He pretty, like I said, he can do it all. We seen Crawford, fight going forward. We seen him fight going backwards. We seen him pressure guys. We seen him counter punch. He's probably the best counter punchers in the game. And so yeah, that's kind of I may be missing something because Crawford literally checks all the boxes.
Yeah, and I gotta say, the way he fought, I was like, oh shit, like. Watching his old beginning fights, obviously he wasn't in the big screen like you said. His come up was different than Spence.
Yeah.
But he got nitty and gritty in those beginning fights. It was like he was going there and knocking fighters out at that time, and he was getting in there and brawling with them. And I was like, damn, I didn't know he had the side to him because obviously we know he can box, but at that time I feel like he was just using his like. I'm gonna come in, I'm a box your ass on the inside. I'm gonna knock you out, just grinding. That's the word.
Yeah.
But so that's just to cover a different side of Crawford that I didn't know he had in him.
Mm-hmm.
But what about Spence?
Now Spence, on the other hand, Spence is another one that's a complete fighter. A
lot of people say that Crawford's more of the complete fighter.
Yeah, and I think I feel like the difference is like. It's more evident, like in one fight, like we'll see Crawford do different styles in it, and then versus ERROL Spence, sometimes we'll just see one style because I feel like ERROL only shows us enough, whatever he needs to get the job done, because when people say that hey, he can't box, we've seen him box, against a Mikey Garcia, we've seen him box, even when he fought Leonard Bundu, like it's just, but what people remember about ERROL is. He's coming forward and people kind of, just automatically just want to just lump him in there with just a pressure fighter.
Yeah.
But this man is boxing. Yeah, he's coming forward, but this man is boxing. And, he's got probably the best jab in the game. Both of these guys got good jabs. But, he got that. We've seen ERROL Spence. ERROL Spence can counter. The other thing is about ERROL Spence is he outworks guys and his work rate. That's the other thing that he does very well.
He breaks you down.
Yeah, he breaks you down. And he's just relentless. He got, I feel like he's got good power in both hands. And yeah, so that's kind of.
And like I said, with Spence, every time I watch one of his fights,
he's a dog. I'm
just like, bro, like it's like the second round, even the first one, and I'm like, damn, we're barely we're not even past the third round, and it seems to me like we're in the 10th or 11th round just because of how the opponent looks just defeated already.
Yeah.
And like you said, Spence is just non-come forward, throwing them punches also.
Yep.
High guard up though.
Yep.
And he just don't stop. He don't stop throwing punches and combinations.
Yep.
And in one of the interviews he had talked about, because to me it looks like he's throwing power punches a lot. Mm-hmm. And he was like, "Oh, you call that power punch?" He goes, "Nah, I'm just tapping him. I'm just making sure I'm tapping him. I'm like, damn, that's what you call tapping. You bring them down just doing that."
But yeah, and he's the best. I'll probably say he's the best. Yeah, he's the best body puncher in the game. He's mean. That's how he's stopping a lot of guys to the body. And when it comes to body punching, he's up there with anybody.
And he gonna have to do that to try to slow Crawford down.
Yeah, so that's kind of more about ERROL.
Yeah, and I mean, just to kind of get into this is a 50-50 fight. See, I feel like this has been the year of saying this is a 50-50 fight.
Yeah, we've been getting everything.
But that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Right?
And they kind of talk about it a little bit. Yeah, it's a 50-50 fight. But if you ask the fighters, if you ask the trainers, everyone is going with who?
Oh, Crawford.
Everyone's going with Crawford.
Yeah.
So, and I think a little bit about that. I think the reason for that is because, I feel like they try to, because ERROL is perceived by, most people as a pressure fighter. And then you have Terence Crawford, who is the boxer puncher. And so when you look at it like that, a lot of people think that, this style, will counteract ERROL's style. But one thing about ERROL is I feel like his defense is underrated. Yes, he is a pressure fighter and he comes forward, but he's defensively responsible. He has that high guard. You see him, sometimes, he's a little slick, as far as missing some punches, but most of the time he's blocking a lot of punches, parrying a lot of punches, and I feel like people kind of lose that aspect of ERROL's game. And but you listen to fighters like Danny Garcia, where he wasn't able to land shots that he's normally able to land, and even Mikey Garcia, he said that coming into the fight when it comes to Errol Spence, like he saw something, and then he afterwards, he felt differently. It's different when you get in there. I feel like every fighter realizes that it's different when you get in there. So that's why I think why a lot of people are going with Crawford. But yeah, this is a 50-50 fight.
Yeah, but I mean also when you ask them, they really say they like the way that Spence fights, but they would be going for Crawford to win the win. But I mean, give us both fighters have something to say about each other's resume, about how one finished the one compared to the other, who was on the prime versus the other one. But give us a little backstory of each one's resume.
Okay, so I'll start with Crawford. So Crawford, I'll start with his first title. So he got his first title, versus Ricky Burns, and he actually went on the road and got the win in Scotland. So that was his first title. He moved up to 140, and guess what? He became undisputed. So this is actually Terence Crawford. He's got a chance to make history to be a 2-division undisputed world champion in the 4-belt era, which is would be an amazing accomplishment. So he moved up to 140 and became undisputed, and then his first title shot at 147 at welterweight was Jeff Horn, who got the title from Manny Pacquiao. Even though I thought Manny Pacquiao won that fight, but hey, and so that's kind of how he got that first title. Did you want me to kind of go into some, kind of memorable fights?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so then, the next, I'll probably say the next memorable fight he had at welterweight would probably be Jose Benavidez. And Jose Benavidez, he actually said, didn't he actually say that was I think he said that was his most difficult fight yet. And that was due to Jose Benavidez's speed. Jose Benavidez, he definitely, even though Crawford was winning the fight convincingly, the rounds were more competitive than we've seen Crawford in with other fighters. Crawford was still winning those rounds, but the rounds were just a little bit more competitive, and Jose Benavidez showed more resistance than previous opponents at that time.
And you got to remember, though, that
go ahead.
And then this is where the other shit talking comes in. Right? I was supposed to say he was fighting one-legged Benavidez. We know Benavidez had got shot before in the leg, so his leg probably wasn't all there. And Crawford finished him on the 12th round. I think it was like a few seconds before the bell rung, but he managed to get him out. Yep,
he did. I mean, like when it comes to his resume, I understand, people, grading his resume, but, it's no fault to Crawford. Crawford is fighting the guys who are in front of him, and it takes nothing away from what he did. He still fought in spectacular fashion and got these guys out of there as he should. And he's just showing up and fighting, the guys, who's in front of him.
Yeah. So, and I mean, some people say he has gotten hurt also, and
so that people, you got to talk about the Gamboa. The Gamboa. That was an undefeated Gamboa he fought. It wasn't at it was at lightweight, and so people always bring that up. He was hurt by Gamboa, so what's Errol Spence gonna do? Obviously that was a long time ago, but what happened when he gets hurt?
He comes back.
He came back and he got him out of there. So that's about Gamboa. If we get back to 147, the other memorable fight that I kind of want to talk about is the Kavalauskas. Most people remember him as Mean Machine, and he's got power. One thing that you can't take away from Mean Machine, he definitely has power, and that was the other fight where people had questions because he dropped Terence Crawford unofficially. So, but the same, just like in that Gamboa fight, when he got hurt, he picked it up and he put on that pressure and he got him out of there. He got Mean Machine out of there.
Are we gonna see that?
And he's big, and so we'll have to wait and see. But that was that was another memorable fight that I kind of wanted to talk about, and just in those fights he's fought differently. So that's kind of his most memorable opponents. I know we'll probably get into the opponents they have in common later. But yeah, so those are some of the. And
what about Spence? Because Spence he fought some champions also on the top.
Yeah. All right, the big fish, The big fish is back. That's an inside joke. But so to kind of talk about the opponents for Errol, like, you know, before I probably say I definitely think that Errol has the better resume out of the two. Yeah, and we're probably gonna get into it more, but he won his first title. I'll say to start with Kell Brook. He won his first title by going in to the UK and taking the title from Kell Brook. Kell Brook, and I feel like Kell Brook just doesn't get enough respect. But you know, Kell Brook, you know, that he had already beat Sean Porter and took the title from Sean Porter. You know, before that, you know, before the Errol Spence fight, he did try to be great and take on Triple G, and you know, he took the loss. But then he came in and he fought Errol. Now, and if you look at Errol's resume up until that point, you know, this was a huge step up for Errol to go from, you know, his previous opponents to then fight the champ. You know,
in his home. It was a huge step up, and I feel like this was maybe the reason why there was, you know, he was team no tune-ups, because everybody know Errol is no tune-ups. No tune-ups.
Yeah, look, there's a name, no tune-ups. So, and for him to go in there and to beat Kell Brook like he did, you know, he fractured his orbital bone, and to stop him was amazing to see. So that was probably one of my favorite. That might be my favorite performance thus far of Errol. And it's funny that you said that, because, you know, those previous opponents, it was funny that you said that, oh, no matter what fighter he fights, if the fight lasted 1 round, if the fight lasted 12 rounds, the fighters looked like they were in a 12-round war, even if it only lasted 2 rounds.
Yep. I'm feeling bad for the opponents.
Yeah. But so that was you know, his opponent there. And one thing about Errol is Errol was always calling out the top guys. You know, from day one, he was calling out the Keith Thurmans, and he couldn't get those fights. But then when he you know, he put everybody on notice when he did that. So you know, after that, you know, of course he was calling for the, you know, the big, you know, the other guys in the division, you know, the Sean Porters. But after that, he got Mikey Garcia. And, you know, Mikey Garcia, Mikey Garcia, everyone was saying, hey, you know, Mikey Garcia, you know, he's got the bigger, you know, he's got the better boxing IQ, he got more skills. And, you know, guys like Sugar Ray Leonard was picking against Errol, saying that Mikey was going to win. And Errol came out and pretty much outboxed him. At that time, Mikey had never been outboxed, period. And for him to pitch a shutout and not use, and even in the press conference, Mikey was like, the only thing Errol has over me is the size. And Errol in that fight did not use his size, just used nothing but boxing skills and outboxed him and damn near pitched a shutout. So
right, that's what they're saying in this fight too. That he's got the size advantage.
Yeah. So, you know, so that was that fight. Then we seen him get in there with Sean Showtime Porter,
which is one of the opponents they got in common, yeah?
Yep.
And do you think the fights look different between either one?
Ooh, okay.
And I mean, we could say they ended up different, right? We had the decision versus the knockout, which is what Crawford says.
Yeah.
He's like, you know, I don't care how did you finish him and how did I finish him.
Yeah.
But did you see them fighting a same Sean Porter? I was gonna say the same Big Sean, a same Sean Porter.
I don't think it's the same Sean Porter, and even Sean Porter will vouch for me, because he even came out and said, he even came out and said that, you know, he wasn't the same guy. He said he wasn't doing the same things that his dad, you know, he wasn't listening to his dad in this camp. And even after the fight, you know, when his dad threw the towel in, who was his trainer, you know, he said it was the preparation was the reason why he threw in that towel. So, and you hear, you know, even Crawford's, you know, friends and things like that. I mean, even Sean Porter's friends and stuff, they said that was the best version of Sean Porter that they've seen.
False Spence.
Yeah. And, you know, and it's also different just from the simple way that they fought each other. You know, before, if you look at that fight between, Sean Porter and Errol Spence, at this point, nobody fought Sean Porter the way that Errol Spence did. And that was fight him at his own game. Everybody knows that Sean Porter, he's relentless and he's always in shape, one of the most in shape fighters. He fight everybody, and he's a dog. He makes it a dog fight. He makes it rough. Now, everybody fights in different, and Errol was probably the first person to fight him at his own game. And so he definitely fought Shawn Porter at the best version of himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus Terence Crawford, he did do that in spurts where he did fight Shawn Porter, but he also boxed Shawn Porter a lot more. Yeah. So that's what I kind of think about that. And if you look at when the fight was stopped, a lot of people were mad when the fight was stopped.
Personally, yeah. I thought that, I honestly probably feel like Shawn Porter's dad was just probably pissed that he wasn't listening at him, and just because to teach him a lesson, he threw the towel in. Mm-hmm. I really did think that Shawn Porter could have kept going.
I mean, he definitely was there, when it happened. He banged the ground, so he definitely was coherent. And he could have, we all think he could have, keep continuing.
Like, especially that's gonna be your last fight, and you knew that was gonna be your last fight because I'm sure that he talked about it with Dad. You gonna let him go out like that?
But the thing about that is, I will say this: that was the most clean that I've ever seen Shawn Porter get caught when he was fighting Terence Crawford, and that just shows how much of a sharpshooter that Terence is. So so that was ERROL's fight, against Shawn Porter, and that's kind of the difference between the two. And then after that, the horrific accident happened, and so he had a long layoff, and then he came back and he fought Danny Garcia. This just shows how much of a dog ERROL is.
No tune-up.
Team no tune-up. To fight someone like Danny Garcia, who's a 2-division world champion, who's got power. It was that was definitely something, and to come. Straight into that, and to just outbox Danny Garcia the way he did. Jab was on full effect. That was amazing to see. So that's his other fight, and then we already know what happened to Ugas, which was a masterpiece in itself, and it was brutal. He broke him down and got him out of there. We all remember that. That should be fresh in everybody's mind.
That was a shutout.
So yeah.
Shut-eye.
So yeah. So that's kind of their opponents.
What about Kell Brook? Did he look different against Crawford?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think when ERROL got him, it was earlier in his career. And I think that, ERROL did get him at I think that was I think he did fight the better version. Mm-hmm. And then, just for the simple fact of after the ERROL Spence fight, Kell Brook, he really didn't fight anybody like that, a name or, but he was, fighting, but it just wasn't on the championship caliber type of opponents. So that's why I said that, and he was fighting at, higher divisions, and then, he did the same thing with ERROL. But yeah, that was, like I said, that was a big step up for him. But I will say this. So the Crawford, that fight was very, very interesting. So, in that fight in the beginning, Terence Crawford, he came out as an orthodox, and, Kell Brook was having a lot of success. I talk about that jab. He's got one of, his jab is up there with theirs as well. I feel like he doesn't get enough credit either. But yeah, he was, having a little bit of trouble. And Kell Brook was actually, he was in shape, and you could just tell in those first couple rounds, that Kell Brook was there. He was there. But Terence Crawford switched southpaw, hurt him in the fourth, and it was over. Like, those other fights went a lot longer, and like I said, it takes nothing away from what Terence Crawford actually did to Kell Brook. We hadn't seen him, to get him out of there that has been crazy. Yeah. So, that's kind of the difference between the two. So, but yeah, that was
going down the resumes, man.
So yeah, that's kind of about the resumes, but I do think ERROL, has the better resume.
You think so? Okay, that's what ERROL's been saying too.
So,
but I mean, just kind of to get into who we think is going to win the fight, like we mentioned, a lot of people are leaning towards Crawford when it comes to it. Again, it's going to be a close-ass fight between both.
Man, 50-50.
I just can't even imagine how this fight is going to be, how they're going to come out, how they're relentless they're going to be, how they try not to get broke down. But I just feel like ERROL's just going to be non-stop, coming in, throwing punches and combinations, still with the high guard up, and I just feel like he's gonna be the stronger man that day. So I just feel like I'm gonna lean more towards Spence to get the win.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
So Crawford's boy.
But I feel like it's gonna be that.
Okay. Crawford's boy.
Whatever you want to call it.
All right.
But who do you think is gonna?
Okay. I'm gonna start with this. Like, look, these are my guys. These are two of my favorite fighters, And just to talk about it, I mean, coming up, watching basketball, my two favorite basketball players were Kobe Bryant and Allen Iverson. And so when I think that's how I feel like when these two are going against each other. Yeah, when it comes to boxing, like these are my Kobe Bryant and Allen Iverson in boxing right here. So I'm just excited. But yeah, so to kind of get into it on how I kind of think this fight is gonna go, or break it down a little bit. It's kind of hard to think, just for the simple fact that these guys can fight so many different ways.
Can you even choose?
Yeah, I mean, I can choose, but I could choose. But
like their styles.
Yeah, but if I have to, talk a little bit about it, some of the things I want to highlight is ERROL Spence. Like I mentioned, he has a high work rate. He throws the most punches in the division, in the welterweight division. The other thing about him is ERROL Spence is he averages the most landed punches than anyone in that division. Now with that being said, Terence Crawford is right up there too, but he's number 2. He doesn't throw as many punches, but when it comes to their accuracy, they're very close. But ERROL throws he lands a little bit more punches. So like I said, both of these fighters do a lot of things well. But if I had to kind of think about how this fight's gonna go, I feel like ERROL's gonna be the one coming forward, and Terence is gonna be more of the boxer, the boxer puncher, and going to be looking to counterpunch. But I think that in the fight, there's going to be a lot of times where a fight breaks out, and that's when we're going to see a lot of. That's where we're going to see greatness.
That's
for real.
Going to be interesting.
That's when we're going to see greatness. Now, when it comes to Terence Crawford, another thing, Terence Crawford is a sharpshooter, and that man sets a lot of traps. He's probably the best counterpuncher at welterweight. We saw ERROL Spence get in there with another good counterpuncher with Danny Garcia. And Danny Garcia, a lot of people said that Danny Garcia had the most power in the division also, not naming Terence Crawford. And so we've seen him in there with that. But Terence Crawford, definitely, I think he's a better counterpuncher than Danny. And I think he has got more power than Danny. The other thing about this is both of these guys got good jabs. Both of these guys, I feel like, are going to see the best jabs that they've seen in the division. So that's going to be exciting to see. Like I said, one of the things that I'm probably most looking forward to, and another thing that we're going to see as far as greatness, is when ERROL Spence fights, he pretty much is like this. Right? As he fights, he goes like this. He gets better as the fight goes on. And, the other fighters tend to drop off. Now, you got something to say about that?
I don't think Crawford. That's going to be Crawford.
And I think a lot of the reason why that happens is because one thing about ERROL, he fights at a high pace. I already mentioned the fact that he throws more punches than anybody in that division, and he lands the most punches in his division. So he's getting these other fighters to fight at a pace that they're not used to fighting at. So not only is he getting stronger as the fight goes on, but these other fighters are coming down, and that's why I think he even lands more. Now, so that's kind of about the pace in him. Now, Terence Crawford, I feel like he's got gears.
That's actually a really good. What do you call analysis?
Yeah.
Analysis.
Yeah.
Because if it's true, he goes up, the other ones go down, but with Crawford, he gonna step it up too.
Yeah, he's got gears, and because how many times we watch him in a fight, he's fighting like this, and then something either somebody lands a punch on him that he didn't like. If the crowd goes woo, he ups the pace, he ups him, and he gets him out of there. Usually when Terence Crawford raises it to that other level, the other fighters, they can't match it, and they get stopped, they get overwhelmed, and it's over. But I think that this fight, we're going to get, I think these two fighters are going to bring the best out of each other for that reason. I think that Terence Crawford is going to be interesting because we don't even know if Terence Crawford got another gear outside of that second one, because he hasn't had to go there. He's been dominating these other guys. And so, or either that, or, he may have another gear, or he might be able to maintain that gear for a long. We don't know how long he can maintain that gear because people are getting out of there. So I think for that reason, we're gonna get the best version of each other. One of the factors that I'm really looking forward to that I feel like isn't getting talked about enough, when it comes to people breaking down these fights, is the fact that this is gonna be the first time that both of these guys are in there with an elite, or even this is the first time in there with a great or good, a great southpaw. Like neither one of them have been in it, with the good ones. We do know that Crawford has been in, I think, with a couple southpaws, but no one nearly as good as Errol Spence. And Errol Spence, on the other hand, I can't even remember. I don't even think he fought a southpaw. So, but to talk, about that, we do know that that Terence Crawford, he does spar, Shakur Stevenson all the time, who is an elite southpaw. And then I don't know what southpaws that Errol has been sparring with, but we do know one thing. He is trained by the legendary trainer.
That's your favorite. Derrick
James, aka Trainer of the Year, aka Trainer of the Decade, coming soon. We've been saying that from the beginning. And I'll say this, he definitely always has the master plan. And one thing I was looking at in that media workout was that pad work. When you saw him working those pads, he simulates an actual fight. It's probably the best pad work I've seen. And the thing that he was doing, which was really cool to see, as he was throwing the pads with Errol Spence, he was switching stances, so it looked like it was coming from different angles. So I definitely think, so I definitely think that he's gonna be prepared for that. Yeah. But that's something I just can't wait to see, because we've never seen that from both of them.
Right.
The other thing about both of these fighters, which makes this for an exciting fight, is both of these guys love to fight. And a lot of people who are on the Crawford side think that that's going to be Crawford's downfall. Him being the smaller guy. Because if you watch Terence Crawford, when someone lands on him, he's ready to fight back, even if it's against the game plan. You listen to Bomac when they were fighting Sean Porter, and he's like, just box him. But as soon as Sean Porter landed, the game plan went out the door, and he and Bud was coming to fight.
Because, like I said, that's what he did at the beginning. He that comes out of him sometimes. Yep. He know how to do it.
Yep. Now when it comes to Terence Crawford, I talked about how he sets traps, and he's a KO artist. He's been doing it since he's been fighting outside, with dreads. He been setting people up, and then you look at how he set up Avenesian in his last fight. He set him up and got him out of there. So I think that he's a good enough. I think he is so great at setting up that traps. I think he is gonna land, and I think he is going to catch Errol Spence Jr. Because when you look at Danny Garcia, people don't talk about this, but Danny Garcia was able to land some counters, and Danny Garcia got some good power, and he landed some good right hands, some good shots to the body, but Errol just took it. So I say that to say that I definitely think that that Terence Crawford is going to be able to catch the big fish. Now, is that gonna
with the fishing pole?
Yeah, I don't know. So I do think that he is gonna be able to catch Errol at times. But like I said, I think Terence Crawford does have the most power that Errol has probably seen. But I will say this: it's not like he hasn't been in there with people that can punch. That's when his sparring partner has been Jermell Charlo. Jermell Charlo.
He fights at upper.
Yeah, Jermell Charlo. We all know that he got power, and they have been sparring for years. So I definitely think that I think he'll be able to take the power from Crawford better than a lot of the other opponents. And so that's kind of how I see it happen. But I definitely see Errol being able to keep going, and when that happens, that's again when we're gonna see greatness. The other thing when it comes to Errol, I feel like doesn't always show his cards. Like I feel like each fight he does enough, he shows you enough, and I say that to say this, one of the other things that kind of got Errol buzzing was the fact that he sparred Floyd Money
and that's
Mayweather.
Where he got the truth.
And that's where that nickname came, the truth. And when you hear people talk about that sparring, everyone was impressed with Errol. and some people said, he gave Floyd a black eye, and and for him to do so well against Floyd. Now we know Floyd, we already know Floyd and what he do. We don't even talk about. So to hear, him have that type of success at that point when he fought, when Floyd was fighting Guerrero, and we know that Floyd went on to fight, he hadn't even fought Canelo yet or Manny. So that just kind of shows, what level Errol was on back then. And he hasn't fought, a skilled and more complete fighter is Terence Crawford, but I'm sure, he can lean on some of his experiences there. And also the other fighter he's been in there who was a great offensive fighter was Adrian Broner. Adrian Broner talked about their sparring, and it was said that Errol stopped him. Some people said that he stopped him in sparring, and he's got all the offensive skills, and he's slick. And so, I definitely think that he's going to show everyone something that we haven't seen. And I think that kind of goes back to Mikey. Everyone was saying he didn't have the skills, and he showed up. And Adrian Broner, when he talks about it, he's like, I think Terence Crawford is going to be more surprised with the footwork of Spence. And so, definitely I'm excited to see what Spence does, when Crawford does kind of use his footwork, which is amazing. Terence Crawford got amazing footwork. So it's going to be interesting to see how that kind of plays out. So, I definitely think he's going to show us something there.
So who do you think is going to win?
Who's
going to take it? Who's going to take it home? Who's going to be the new undisputed?
I don't know. I still, look, I might be still deciding right now. But, so I definitely think he's going to do that. And you mentioned the fact that you say Errol is more hyped than he's ever been. And I'm going to tell you why. Errol's one of those fighters that gets hyped when people say that he can't do this. Now, so when he came out as the underdog in this fight, Errol was going to be, this is the most hyped he's going to be to prove everybody wrong. So he definitely thinks that. So I know I said a lot. I know I said a lot. So, with all that being said, I'm going to go with Errol the Truth Spence, aka the Big Fish.
You sure?
Yes, I'm sure. It's a 50-50 fight, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Errol the Truth Spence Jr. He showed us he can counterpunch in the Sean Porter fight. We've seen his jab. We've seen the boxing IQ versus Mikey. I think what it comes down to is, Errol's been in there with boxers. And when you look at him, he wins rounds. There's been times when we've seen Terence Crawford down on the cards before. We've seen him. Errol Spence is the first person to actually be up on the cards against a fighter like Kell Brook before he got stopped. And I feel like even the same thing with Sean Porter. Sean Porter, he was the fight was close until he got stopped. And I think, and like I said, I do think that Terence Crawford is going to catch him, but I don't think he's going to be able to keep him. I don't think he's going to be able to hurt him enough to actually to stop him. He's a big, Errol's a big welterweight, and so for that reason, the activity of Crawford, the activity of Spence is going to give Crawford, problem. And even if we look back at that Crawford versus Sean Porter fight, when they got into the exchanges and it became a fight, Sean Porter was getting the best in a lot of those exchanges. And Errol, we know Errol loves to fight, so I think he's going to be right at home when it comes to those.
He's more used to that kind of fight.
Yeah, he's more used to that kind of fight. And so for that reason, I think Errol's going to win by decision.
Okay.
I'm going with decision.
Either one said it's going to be.
Yeah, both of them. I just think both of these guys, both of these guys got so much dog in them. But Errol, the way that he fights, he does take the fight out of people just for the simple fact that he's constantly landing. These fighters aren't used to being landed on as much as Errol does, and that's what really breaks you down. And so both of these guys I think are going to be hit more in this fight than they've ever been hit. So it's going to be interesting for sure, and it's going to be who, like a lot of people said, who really wants it more,
or whose body could take more. That's what it is. Because I'm sure they both want it as much, but it's whose body can take it as more. I can't picture it being a knockout either. But if anything, it had to be a TKO where one is just not, giving up because, like you said, they just mentally they want to keep going, but their body might not be able to take it anymore, and the ref might have to come in and stop it. But other than that, I feel like it will go to decision too. But hey, we might be surprised. Who knows? In this kind of fight, we're just excited to watch it.
Ooh, hey, don't miss this one. Buy this pay-per-view.
Yep.
Hey, you are not gonna be disappointed. Hey, we just can't wait for this.
Yep. Can't wait to come back and talk about who won this fight, just like the other one. But yeah.
But that's all we got. Let us know below how you guys see this fight going or who you guys got. But that's all we got. So thanks for tuning in, y'all.
And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Or talk your shit.